Okay, welcome back, everybody. I hope you're excited for day two of our conference as we are. Yesterday, we already had a nice array of amazing talks, and I'm sure we'll continue in that fashion. Before we come to our first main event today, I would like to hand over for a word by our sponsors. Jokes aside, the WIOGEN idea would not be possible without the support of the MeerWissen initiative. So I'm very happy to have Alexandra van Hoek today. Very warm welcome. And she will talk a bit about the initiative itself, which is hosted by GIZ. So the stage is yours, Alex.
Thank you so much, Hauke. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this exciting second day of the Ocean Governance Conference. As Hauke said, my name is Alexandra van Hoek. I work for GIZ, but more specifically today, I'm here for the MeerWissen initiative as the sponsor, as Hauke said. In my role as the Secretariat, but also in the name of BMZ, so of Germany's Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, it's my great pleasure to give these few welcoming remarks today. I will start by quickly introducing MeerWissen, talk a little bit about WIOGEN, and then also announce and give a tiny bit of background on our third call that launched earlier this month. Third call as a funding opportunity for project proposals. So I'm going to go to the next slide. I hope this works. I think I see some nodding. Yes, okay, great, thank you. I'm really not Zoom practiced that much. Apologies for that. And my neighbors are doing some renovation. So if you hear some noise on that part, I'm sorry about that as well. Okay, I'm guessing most people know, so I'll do this quickly. What is MeerWissen about? Well, the goal is improving the conditions for knowledge and science-based policymaking for the conservation and sustainable use of the ocean in selected African countries. We have 3 pillars that we base this on, essentially strengthening capacities on the one hand, stimulating dialogue and knowledge transfer, which WIOGEN is doing, and fostering digital solutions, innovation, and the use of new technologies. So our approach is based on a strong partnership that is at the basis or at the core of the project. And we follow a co-design approach, which you've heard a lot about the guidance yesterday, and there'll be more on co-design later. So I'm not going to go into that now. Currently, MeerWissen is funding 12 projects in 7 African countries. They usually last about 2 years, depending, because of Corona, we've had some delays in the projects, and we have extended them to the best of our abilities to give them more time to really implement their goals and strategies. And here on the top right, you can see WIOGEN. Actually, ever since the Ocean Insight podcast with Shannon, I'm so confused whether it's WIOGEN or WIOGEN. So I'm just going to keep saying WIOGEN. I'm sorry for the ones that feel that that's wrong. All right, so the regional project. It's our only regional project focused on bringing people together from different backgrounds, essentially a scientific networking platform. And it also has an integrative vision of social learning approaches that foster then regional ocean governance. So we're quite proud of this project, as we feel that it's, in these crazy Corona times, has really managed to fill a gap. We've all had to adapt to the new normal, including WIOGEN. So moving many sessions, training sessions, and this conference into the virtual space, where it can be a bit tiring and these formats can feel distant and impersonal. But we and I strongly believe that a network as dedicated and well-connected, with at its core a similar passion for the ocean, marine sciences, and maybe for some of you even ocean governance, as a passion that will pull a network together. And so I'm confident that we can focus on the positives of the virtual space, such as the fact that we can all join today's conference from the comforts of our homes or offices, spread many miles apart. I'm joining you today from the Netherlands, for instance, and I couldn't be here if it wasn't a virtual format. So I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, we feel WIOGEN is able and has excelled at filling gaps between us that were intensified through the pandemic. And these distances are bridged now. We're brought closer together through such formats, and we have the ability to interact, discuss, and network, which I think we should really use, like today. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention our third call for project proposals. We just launched it earlier this month. So as I said, MeerWissen at its core is a funding program, and we have regular calls for new project proposals. The topic of this call is nature-based solutions. And you can see on the timeline at the bottom that you're still within the application phase, which is why it's relevant, which is why I'm mentioning it, of course. The application runs until end of this year, so 31st of December, that you would have time to submit your proposals. And then a co-design phase will commence. Because it's so important to us and it's part of our approach, we have dedicated it extra time and funding in this call. And then a 2-year implementation period begins, just as with the other projects. We had an information session about this last week, and you can find the recording of the session online. So I'll go through this quickly. We have the thematic focus, as I mentioned, and co-design is very important to us. And further than that, we also have the objectives of capacity development, science policy uptake, and data innovation and technology fostering. The two-phase approach, as I shortly mentioned, has within it a co-design phase of 6 to 9 months, and then the implementation of 2 years. They have different funding modalities and, of course, very different budgets given the different durations. If you have further questions on this, like I said, the info session or the website is very useful. These are the eligible countries for this call. So if you already have an idea or you want to see which country you're from and want to do some research there, then take a look at this list, please. It's based on current bilateral priorities that were selected by the ministry. So this is a rather fixed list. These are guidance questions on nature-based solutions, but looking at the time, I'm actually going to skip ahead because I don't want to take too much of your time. We have evaluation criteria, of course, that we look at when you submit your proposals. And what you will need by December is 4 things: the application template that's on our website, a budget for the co-design phase, a checklist on legal and commercial eligibility for each main partner, and a cooperation agreement between the partners. So each project can have minimum of 2, 1 German and 1 African partner, and a maximum of 3 for now. So it can also be from 2 different African countries, sorry. And the deadline is, like I said, December 31st. All right, that was very, very short, I'm aware, but like I said, there's more information to be found. And today really is about your conference and all the amazing inputs that you have coming up. I would like to thank the organizers for putting such a great event together. I already had the pleasure of taking a look at it yesterday, and I'm excited for today as well. I wish you all lots of fun and get engaged, be interactive and network and use this opportunity. And yeah, let's bring regional ocean governance forward. Thank you very much.
Big thanks to you, Alexandra, for opening this day formally now and finding such kind words for the project, of course, which brings little tears in our eyes. Thanks a lot for joining us. I think not much introduction is necessary for our next speaker, but it's still my great pleasure to now welcome Rashid Sumaila. He's tuning in actually from Vancouver, Canada for us. Today he's going to make a point that comprehensive valuation of fish and fisheries is actually needed to ensure infinity fish, a very cool word that might have come from a Marvel movie, which is also the title of his new book. Professor Sumaila, thanks for staying up so late for us. We're all ears and the stage is yours. You are still on mute?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unmuted now. So let me get my slides on. Okay. All right. So thank you very much for the introduction. Yeah, I want to thank the organizers and WIOGEN, is it WIOGEN or WIOGEN? I want to thank you for inviting me to do this. And I always see these kinds of invitations as a privilege and an honor, right? To get the chance to share some of the things we have been thinking about, not just me, my group, or colleagues all over the world, right? And to share it with an audience such as this is always a pleasure. So thank you so much for that opportunity. Now, the title is Comprehensive Valuation of Fish and Fisheries is Needed for Achieving Infinity Fish. And as I will tell you later, the title of the book, which was published last week actually, is Infinity Fish, Economics and the Future of Fish and Fisheries, and you will see more about it. And so in a way, I will be introducing the book and highlighting some of the key things there as we go. So two key things I hope to do here is to really emphasize why the ocean is so important for our lives. And I'll actually show a map of Africa to show you the coastline is huge. And many people depend on the ocean, and therefore we need to take care of it, because if we don't, we are the ones to pay dearly for it. And you can see examples all over. And combined with the importance of the ocean is that it is under threat in so many ways that most of you know. I'll just quickly go through that. And then I'll start talking about infinity fish. I'm sure many of you are saying, what the hell is that? So I will explain and also tell you where the origin of this thing. So the ocean is our life. So essentially, I know this is knowledge that people have, but it's always good to really emphasize this. The ocean is 70% of the surface of the earth. So we live on only 30% of the earth's surface. So the ocean is large, which means that there are many things you can draw from the largeness. Number one, it really supports life and livelihood for humans and other animals for that matter, right? Because we are not the only people on the surface of the earth. And so it's important to think about that. So it's large. So what I tell my students is the ocean is so large, you cannot afford to mess it up. And it's like your exam. If you have 100 marks and you keep scoring 30%, you are not going to go anywhere. So that's the same thing. If we mess up 70% of the surface of the earth, we are in trouble, right? Now, because it is large, it doesn't mean we don't have the capability and the ability to actually mess it up, because of the technology, because of consumption, because of population, and because we just overdo things. Human beings, we overdo things. So we can mess it up. We have the capacity to do that, and you can see evidence of that all over the place. I'll show some data. So now. And because it's large, many of us think that we cannot do something. Oh, what can I do? It's only me, little Rashid. What can I do? Or I'm a small country, or whatever excuse. Look, we all matter. And each one of us has a role to play. The little you can do to ensure a sustainable ocean is a good thing. You know, even the ocean, if you think about it, actually the mighty ocean was made by little drops of water. So little drops of human effort can actually sustain this valuable resource that we all depend on. So we shouldn't mess it up. We can mess it up, but we shouldn't, and we can actually ensure that human beings don't destroy the ocean, because then we'll be destroying ourselves. Now, this is a map of Africa many people don't see. It's crazy. There's a group that really have this on the web, and I just stumbled on it, and it just shows you how large the continent is. It's unbelievable when you look at it. You know, on the global map, you don't see this, and it's mainly because of the way the global map is made. As you go to the end of the world, so to say, to the Arctic, and the way the map is made, those parts get enlarged. Otherwise, maybe we won't see them. There is a reason geographers do this. It's not deliberate. It's not to deceive anybody, but that's the way the global map is made. But actually, if you look at the landmass, it's huge. So this is Africa's coast. If you start here from Cape of Good Hope, somewhere there, you just go around, my God, and you see, this is the big USA inside Africa, guys. Have you ever thought about this? It's just unbelievable. Look at China. It's here. India is just sitting in the Horn of Africa, Somalia, right? So it's huge. The continent has a huge coastline, and this is of immense potential. Actually, I believe that if Africans were to manage the coast or the waters of the continent sustainably, effectively, and make sure that the benefits really go to the people who live in Africa, the ocean alone can sustain Africans. I really believe this. Think of all the things you can do. You hear about the blue economy and so on. So this is important for the continent as it is important for the whole world. Now, how about fish? And I like to show this picture because if you think of fish, most of us just go to the supermarket or go to the beach and just get our fish and go cook it and eat it. If you think of it, a lot of economic activity depends on this, especially in coastal areas, in coastal Africa, Latin America. In Europe, fish is important, right? All over. In Canada, oh my gosh, if you think of the indigenous people on the BC coast here, all their history. You go to the East Coast, people came from Europe to Newfoundland because of cod, right? So fish is important. All these activities hang on the fish, including myself and many of you in this room. Without a fish, we'll have to find another job. There's no marine research or fish research, right? I'm a fisheries economist or marine resource economy, ocean economy. That is the thing. So aquaculture, some of us think agriculture alone can save us or give us all the fish we need. Actually, a lot of aqua depends on wild fish in the fish meal and oil. So this is an important resource that we cannot afford. Now, how about most of us live by the coast, right? And the ocean generates 50% or more of the oxygen, right? So this is actually where that small title of The Ocean is Our Life comes from, because half of our oxygen is generated by the ocean. Therefore, without that, we'll have half of the oxygen. I'm just making interpolations here. It's not that easy and straightforward. Scientists tell me there's a lot of processes, but if you produce 50%, and human beings, that means roughly 50% of our oxygen comes from the ocean. So without that, we'll have half-life. What is a half-life to a human being? It's no life, okay? So the ocean is our life. It regulates the Earth's climate. Vancouver is the warmest city, one of the warmest city in the winter in Canada, and it's partly because of the Pacific Ocean. So huge benefit, and so on. I could keep listing this on and on and on. How about our culture, our spiritual values, actually, of the ocean? I had a PhD student, Nigel Hagan. He looked at the spiritual values of the ocean to people in Vancouver and British Columbia. Right? You go to the beach, you walk on the sand, the waves bring the water, it runs over, even if you don't swim, it runs over your feet and you feel amazing, right? So these are all values. Transport and shipping, most of our commerce will not happen without transportation in the ocean, or we'll have to find another way to do it. Recreation, right? You go to Namibia, South Africa, people go out and do recreational fishing. And jobs. I'll actually show you a graph that I like to show because this is so important. And now I've come to what most of us relate the ocean and marine systems. But actually all that I'm saying is not just about the ocean, it's also about the freshwater systems, right? They also give us a lot of benefits. So food, that's important. We take about 100 million tons of fish each year from the global ocean marine systems. 100 million tons. If you actually convert that, just to give you an idea of how huge this is, if you convert it to the number of mature cows, that will be roughly 100 million mature fish cows that we pull out of the ocean each year. You think about that. That's a lot of food, animal protein, healthy micronutrients for people, and jobs and dollars and so on. But it also means that we got to reflect what kind of system, even the mighty ocean, can it sustain 100 million tons of biomass being taken out each year? So this is where the sustainability, biodiversity aspects come. We need to think about that. I'm showing this because I think, to me, this is one of the biggest service the ocean gives to people in Africa and around the world. Our estimate is that about 260 million people worldwide involved in marine fisheries, including direct and the indirect sector, actually earn some living from ocean fisheries. This is not the freshwater system, just the ocean, 260 million. Now, when you dig into the data, this was what blew my mind when we did this. All the big countries where all the jobs are big developing countries. And so if you look there, India, China, Indonesia, only Africa made it here on this list. Only Nigeria made it from Africa because Nigeria is large, right? If we were to do this per number of people in the ocean, maybe Kenya will come up, maybe Senegal, right? But this is absolute numbers, and Nigeria makes it because for every 5 Africans, 1 is a Nigerian. You know, it's a big country, right? And this, to me, is a huge benefit we get. We got to keep this going. You have to make this an infinity business, right? If you, because all these young people, you know, in 2016, I had the real privilege of giving a talk. And that was, to me, that was my highlight. This was in 2016. Secretary John Kerry did a big ocean conference at the State Department. And for whatever reason, I got invited actually to present the Sustainable Ocean Beat, to lead that group. And it was such a lineup, you can't believe it. Look, it was Secretary John Kerry then who introduced the conference, gave his talk. Then he introduced President Obama, right? So the second speaker was Obama himself. He impressed everybody with his amazing presentation. It was like he was an ocean scientist, right? And then the next one was Leonardo DiCaprio. So that's number 3. The 4th speaker was your own little Rashid. I was number 4. I don't know how that happened, but that was like magic. So I go up there and I gave my talk and I presented this. And what I said was that you all remember when Obama came, handsome young man, really, actually. He came in and within a couple of years, he was becoming gray and many people were surprised. And what I told them is, without these jobs, he would have become grayer, because these young people, if they have nothing to do, you can think of all the social and economic problems. And they won't stop in Nigeria or in Indonesia or in Bangladesh. It will reach the table of the president of the US and all the global leaders. So, and I said, without this job, we'll all get grayer, including myself, right? Later, one person came to me and said, but you don't get gray because there's no hair, right? They don't see my gray. But this I take very seriously, and we could calculate this for African countries, and it's huge in the coastal areas. You go to West Africa, East Africa, the Indian Ocean. Oh man, this is so. We need to keep this going. But like I said, there are threats. We are overfishing. That is fishing down marine food web. We take the big fish, we take the next big one. We mess up the habitat. So you see, this is rich. With time, we are raking it up and turning the place into dust, if you like. Dust in the ocean, can you imagine? So that is overfishing bit. Then climate change, oh my God, COP26 is coming. It's actually affecting the ocean. This will be a whole talk if you want to really get the latest science about how tropical countries are really paying the big price for the warming of the ocean, the acidification, deoxygenation, and so on and so forth. Then you have the marine debris, all the plastic, my people, just think about that. The plastic, this is a picture, it just breaks your heart. So, and then we have things like oil spills. So there's a number of multiple sectors really messing up the ocean, and we need to do something. And this happens everywhere, whether it's in Africa or Asia, different degrees. In Europe, in Canada, we do have issues, and every government and every society is working to try to deal with this. So that is the background to the ocean work I and many people do, many of you in this audience do, to try to help us maintain these benefits by really mitigating and also adapting to all the stresses happening to the ocean. Now enter infinity fish. So I'll introduce you quickly to this new book that it's quite cool, and it's a collection of years of work, research, because it's an academic book with a lot of policy implications, because that is where I want to be, right? I want my science to really impact policy, help improve situations, especially for coastal communities where we need a lot of help to improve the quality of life of people without actually destroying the natural resources they depend on. That is a key message for this conference. Please, let's find a way. Everybody use our big brains. We're lucky we have brains. How do we ensure that human beings, all the people of the world, Africa, anywhere, meet their needs without us destroying our natural environment? Because that would be really bad for all of us. So here is the cover of the book, Infinity Fish, Economics and the Future of Fish and Fisheries. And yeah, I like the cover. I like the title. I hope you do. And quite a bit of inspiring things, I believe, but we will see. I'll give you a bit more. So the main basis of this book starts by this kind of thinking. Like if you just think of the way how we relate to our aquatic systems, the marine system, the freshwater system, the environment at large, there are two things that we people do with our environment. We go there, we take all the stuff, all the things we need, we want, we desire, the fish, the oil, the diamond, right? We take it into our economy. We do all the stuff we do with it. We do all the processing. We do all the cultural stuff, the social, the eating, the economics. And what do we produce? We produce waste. And where do the waste go to? They go to the environment. So good things come from the ocean and the environment. Bad things go to the ocean and the environment. And I tell you, if you want to achieve infinity fish, as I'll explain very soon, you have to make sure that you don't overtake. And you have to make sure that you don't overpollute, because if you do, this amazing system that we have given to us by nature will be destroyed, and we will be destroyed with it. So to achieve infinity fish, my whole idea is we have to, those of us alive now, we inherited this system. We have to do all that we can to pass on a healthy ocean or aquatic systems or even the environment to our children and grandchildren, so they too can have the option to do the same. You see, I'm telling you, we give them the option because we can't decide for them. They will do what they do, but our obligation is to give them that option. And I think if every generation does this, I think future generations will also aspire and work to do this. And by so doing, we keep passing this resource on and on and on to infinity, and then you can have infinity fish. So that is a cool definition of that for you. Now, the next thing is where did this idea come from? And this is quite interesting. You see Namibia, huh? This is where infinity fish. I made a statement which I then slowly turned into the title of this book. I was invited to give a talk at one of Namibia's national fisheries day. Anyone who knows Namibia knows two things are very important. Fish, diamond, they're important to the country economically and otherwise. So, and because I've studied Namibian fisheries for a long time, I used to visit it every year. So I kind of understand this. And then I flew in. I didn't know that there was a big debate between the diamond and the fishing sector, but I already know they actually have conflict because the diamond mining and fishing takes place a bit off the coast. So in areas, they always fight each other, right? So I go there, and one of the things I said in my talk, there were 3 African ministers of fisheries, the Namibian one, the Sierra Leonean one, and the one from the Seychelles were invited, I think, by Namibia. So they were in the audience. And I go there, and one of the things I told them is, you know what? I'm here to convince you that fish is more valuable than diamond. My God, when I said this, the room was like something just dropped on the room, right? And the minister of Namibia fishery, I saw his face, he just had a big smile. And I explained it this way. I said, if you think of it, fish is renewable. And if we manage it wisely, sustainably, it will continue to feed people forever, right, to infinity. And mathematically, anything that gives you benefit, even if it's a small benefit, and it goes through time, you sum it up to infinity, is gonna be infinity. So fish is actually infinity fish. So that's one reason. How about diamond? I said, diamond is not forever, as popular parlance tells you. If you have a deposit of diamond and you dig out a ton of it, that ton is gone forever. You're never going to go into that mine and get that 1 ton again. It's gone. So that's one reason. The second reason is that if you think of it, you can ask, if we were in a room and I ask the audience now, how many of you have seen diamond in your life or worked for a diamond company in your life? There will virtually be nobody, right? But let me ask you, how many people have eaten fish this week? And I tell you, a huge number in any group of people will raise their hand. So I said, diamond is very elitist. A few percentage of the population ever even know how it looks like. They make the money and they run off with it. But fish, if you are on the coast in the Western Indian Ocean, West Africa, North Africa, anywhere in the world, and you're on the coast, anyone can go catch a fish and feed his or her family, right? So it's, in that case, that's another reason why fish is more valuable than diamond, and that is why fish is infinity fish. So the idea started in Africa, the continent, and others. I mean, I'm not the first to say it. That is the mother of all continents. Okay, guys, Africa is the mother of all continents. That is, I gave a talk like this in the US just last week, University of Rhode Island. They asked me to talk, and I stood there in front of all the Americans full in the room. I told them about this, and I say the idea started from the mother of all continents, Africa. And I told them, you know what? All of you are Africans if we really look at it properly, right? We're all Africans. That's why it all started, and people started moving. So that is the source of this idea. Now, so let's start digging into the book a bit. So this is a bit of chapter 2. All that I've said is chapter 1, and more will come from chapter 1 is the intro. But now in chapter 2, the question I ask essentially is the economic theory of valuation adequate enough to ensure infinity fish in the sense I just described to you? So I looked at the literature, did the survey, and actually my own reading and my understanding and conclusion is that actually the economic theory is quite broad. And if we only implemented it as the theory says, then I think it's adequate to actually do that. And I have some citations here. But essentially, if you look at the economic theory, it tells you that you need to look at the total economic value of anything you are really trying to place value in. And this total economic value is not only what you earn when you sell something in the market. That is the market value. But we also have non-market values, things that give you benefits and values that you don't sell or cannot buy in the market. And you need to take market and the non-market into consideration. And to me, that covers a really broad sense. You look there, we talk about direct use. So catch the fish and you eat it. That's a direct use value, but there's an indirect use value where maybe some shellfish, some of these shellfishes are known to clean up the water, which is then a good service for other parts of the economy or for people to use as an indirect use value. And that too should be taken into account. Option value is like infinity fish, because we don't know the true value of everything at any point in time. The thing you consider to be trash today may actually turn out to be the valuable thing. So if you are smart, you don't just go in and rake up everything. You leave something because you never know tomorrow, right? It may be the thing that will save you. So that's the option value. And actually, there's existence value. Nature has the right to exist on its own. We have no right to just take everything and gobble them up, right? I mean, and actually, it's not even good for us because there will be a time you will pay up. Think of climate change, all the floods. Suddenly, a town or city becomes a river, right? And so there is that also. And because value is thinking of the future generation. So my reading is that the theory is quite broad. Now, then I ask the second question, but is the practice? How about the practice? And this is where the big challenges come, actually. So I give you a few of them here. There is difficulty in determining all the things people value, and economists will tell you that we struggle a lot. Who am I to know really what the community, the value a community puts on its fish? I know some, but not everything. And actually, I did some experiment on our campus here. I just go out, I see somebody, I say, hello, how are you? How are you? Yeah. Yeah, do you care about fish? And almost everyone, of course I care about fish. Then I say, why do you care about fish? And I get all the kind of standard things. Oh, I mean, my family loves fish. I eat fish, so I care about fish. Or it's good for the economy and so on. There was one person that blew my mind. And when I believe it's a lady actually. I asked, do you care about fish? Oh yeah, I do. And why do you care about fish? And the answer is, I care about fish because I love the smell of fish, right? And that blew me away, because with all the economists I've read, I never thought the smell of fish could actually be something. I said this in class, and there was an indigenous Canadian there. She said, oh yeah, actually, when you have fresh salmon, really fresh, the smell is amazing, right? So there you go. So, and some things are simply invaluable. Many of us will say some things you cannot put the dollar on. That is also a problem for valuation. And there's uncertainty. We just don't know, right? And there is, these days, this thing bothers me a lot. These days, when two people cannot agree, you have a cup of coffee, you say this is a cup of coffee, one of them will tell you it's a banana, until you tell him or her to eat, and then they move to the next lie. So that also messes up our world, the post-truth world. And this is really worrisome, because there's no medicine to it. No matter what evidence you give, people just tell you, no, it's not the thing. No, it's not the glass. It is whatever. So that is a problem. and finally, when the rubber hits the road, certain values are given more weight than others, e.g. current values. And that's the topic of my book, Infinity Fish. We always care about today. We care about now. We care about here more than tomorrow, more than there, right? And that is captured in economics by the discounting approach. And so you have that. Then private versus social. Oh, what is to me is not what goes to the group. So private values are usually weighted more by people than what is for the community or the collective. And that is a problem. Then you have all the struggle about people saying, oh, the seals are eating all our salmon, so let's take them down so we get more salmon. Oh, you see that, and which is, to me, that is really short-sighted, because you take the seal, what will you take then? What will you take then? You truncate the food system, and you're gonna pay at some point. So but these are the challenges. Now, the first figures, as I'm showing you, what I did here was to take the 9 top environmental economics and natural resource economics journals, and just counted the number of papers they published in a 10-year period, and there were over 4,300 journals. And what I did was to search and see how many of them actually value anything other than the market value, the one you go to the market and buy. And I could find only 1% that talks of other values. So this is really serious. So I call it when the rubber hits the road, hits the actual implementation of what we say we want to do economists. Mostly we talk about the dollars in our pocket. But just to give you a bit of hope, when I split it into the first 5 years and the second 5 years, actually, the second 5 years, there were more publications with other values than that. So it seems we are moving in the right direction, but there's a long way to go. All right, so that will be a summary of chapter 2. Here, I don't know, I'm thinking about time. I shouldn't overdo it, but this is just an example I put in the last chapter, where I played around with all sorts of ideas, the epilogue. Here we are working together with indigenous Canadians in BC to try to find a way to value more broadly because you talk with First Nations people, they will tell you that the fish is not just the market, it's the culture, it's the potluck they do. It brings the community together, it's the help of the people. So we devised a method to be able to capture all of this, and there are steps in that. I'm not going to bore you with the details. Read the book, and you get more. But essentially, when we did our new approach, and this we developed, I remember Alex talking about co-creation of knowledge. So this is really working together with the First Nations Fisheries Council of BC and my group, Fisheries Economic Research Unit, FERU. Together, we developed this approach and we applied it to a community in BC. And what we find is that if the total value actually is almost 10 times the value of the fish when you sell it in the market, 9.5 times to be precise. So that's the kind of thing, more comprehensive valuation. And if you do this, then you will do your policies and your science and everything in ways that will help ensure infinity fish. Okay, so now I quickly just go through the titles of the chapters in the book. So there are sections, and one of the big sections is broadening the scope of what we value, and that is setting the stage, and that was done in chapter 2 and 3. So in fact, the title of this talk came from chapter 2, Getting Values and Valuation Right. It's a must for achieving infinity fish, right? You need to get that. And this also goes to what WIOGEN is doing, right? The idea of knowledge and science-based knowledge, understanding your system, the culture, the economics, the people and nature interaction to really help you understand the true value of this. And so that then you can design your policies to ensure that infinity fish is achieved. So that is the two chapters, 2 and 3. And here I bring in a deeply economic concept. Discounting is the way when you have a flow of benefits through time and you calculate the value, you cannot just add them, because $1 to you today is more valuable than $1 to you tomorrow, even if you take out inflation, right? And one key reason is you can get your money and invest it or build a house or pay tuition and go to school. So we want that. But then the consequences are that we actually front load our benefits and back load our costs and then empty our ocean. So this is the core of the book, actually, where me and my collaborators, we developed a new approach I call intergenerational discounting, where the future generation values are actually taken into account. There's no time to go into detail, but that is, these two models actually set the stage for the theory. And then the next one is the application of the theory. For example, we applied this to look at why the collapse of Northern Cod in Newfoundland. You remember in 1992, this was shut down because the fish is gone. I think I already said in the beginning that many Europeans came to that part of North America because of cod. I mean, when they came, some of them said the biomass of cod was so thick you could almost walk on it. You know, that was a description of how rich that was. And today, there's no fish to catch. It has to be shut down in 1992. When we did the economics, actually, the economy says emptying the ocean was the optimal thing privately to do, right? That's quite scary. And so, yeah, that's a lot of applications and beautiful ways, practical management ideas came out. And then what I say is, once you get the values and valuation right, that will help you to invest in science, in understanding your fishery, and to set up management systems, governance, ocean governance systems to ensure infinity fish, or address common property, the common property nature, the fact that no one owns fish and therefore I have to catch it before you, we raise for it the tragedy of the commons. You find a way to deal with that. How about subsidies? We give taxpayer money to go and catch the last fish. If you're thinking infinity fish, you don't do that, because that will be undermining yourself. The WTO is negotiating now to try to deal with this. We'll see what they will achieve this year after 20 years without succeeding. And many fish stocks are depleted around the world. With proper infinity fish thinking, you will work hard to actually bring them back as much as you can. They will benefit. Oil spills, plastic, again, that will give you the basis to ensure that this doesn't happen. How about illegal fishing? My God, that's another big thing, right? And finally, in the last chapters, we talk I talk about climate change, which is big. All right. The final chapter has a nice title, that the epilogue. This is where I just played around with ideas, wrapping up after I've taken people on the ride. I try to take you slowly off the treadmill, right? So and the title is Knowing the Cost of Everything but the Value of Nothing. And this is a play on Oscar Wilde's quote, who says that economists are those people who know the price of everything but the value of nothing. And I think it's quite cool, right? I mean, you want to do anything, just think of it, any country. Now there's a big debate in the US, right? Oh, to deal with climate change is too expensive. We can do it. No, give people healthcare. Oh my gosh, it's too expensive, because they just look at the cost. They don't look at the benefits widely enough. They don't capture the benefits. What is the benefit of really giving people healthcare, even in terms of economics? You get more healthy people, you are going to more productive, but no. You don't count all those values, you just count the cost. Oh my gosh, it's billions of dollars, we can't do anything. And that is what this book is trying to say. We need to reset this. We need to really get the value right. And that will then put us on the stage to manage our oceans and our fisheries wisely for us and for the future generations. So the link here is to the book. And I personally didn't like the pricing, and I had no say in that. But one thing the publishers have done is actually you can get up to 50% discount on the price of the book, especially if you have some bulk ordering. So there are ways you can avoid the crazy pricing. If I was pricing it, I'll give it to you at $1 or $2 per book, just so more people will read it. Okay, so that is that. Finally, again, getting values and valuation right is crucial, I think, because this will just set the tone for evidence-based policies. You invest in your data, you invest in your science, in your management system, so that you can ensure that infinity fish is a reality. And like I said, that will set the stage. So that's my final page here. Just thanking you all for making the time, opportunity, because giving me the opportunity to do this. I always find it as a privilege. See, it's 1 a.m. in Vancouver and I have so much energy because I believe that my science is useless except and unless it is passed on to the population, to policymakers, to people who can make use of it, so that we have a world that works for nature, works for people and every person. How do we do that? That's your challenge, huh? How do we live harmoniously with nature whilst taking care of the needs of every human being in the world? That's my challenge to the world, and I thank you so much. Done.
Thank you. It's really inspiring to see your energy on that. And it was not only insightful, but also very entertaining, I think, for everybody listening. And let's see if there's people in the audience or in the chat who would like to pick your brain on what you had to say now. I think, yeah, there's a question from Christine Nyangweso.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read it out. Currently, the world is experiencing high demand for fish to supplement dietary needs. This has resulted into increasing in aquaculture fish feed, soy protein, and seeds. The Amazon forest is being cleared to create more land for soy farming, and equal to mangroves being cleared in some areas. What's the future of high fish feed demand, and what's the stand in using laboratory-produced feeds and seaweed? So with the carbon footprint in mind.
Yeah, aquaculture in general. So agriculture is, it's like everything, right? I mean, if we do agriculture wisely, it can add to our food and feed people and also contribute to our economic and social being. My worry is that I think we are too optimistic about agriculture. People think that fish farming will solve all our problems, and that is a pipe dream. If we do it well, it can contribute, and we should do our best with that. And actually, I was awakened by this when I gave a talk about sustainability. I think it was in China, and somebody came to me and said, "Why are you worried about sustainable fish?" I said, "Why not?" He said, "You know what? We can farm all the fish we need, in one high-rise building in Holland, the person told me. I said, whoa, I never heard that before. So I was kind of taken aback. And so I said, hey, that high-rise building will have to be really high. That was my first reaction. And then I went on to say, how is the high-rise building going to give you all the fish meal and oil you need? This goes to the question. Or all the resources you need. The high-rise building will just generate it magically? Or is it going to swallow up all the waste you generate in the farming, you know? So this I call it agriculture over optimism. So a lot of the aqua we need fish meal, just like you have said. I just read a report in West Africa, the new fish crushing machines, all these fish meal things coming up. I understand it's mainly, I don't have proof for this, but I understand it's mainly China planting this, catching the sardinella that people depend on, pelagic fish, grounding it and feeding pigs and other fishes. For agriculture to really be useful, in my sense, we have to find a way to reduce the need for fish meal. And there's a way to do it. How about we farm fish that are vegetarian, that don't need fish meal? I mean, there are some species, freshwater species, that many rich people don't want to eat them, even though they're delicious, right? And so on. So yeah, you touch on something. For us to make agriculture help us, we really have to be clever in the way we bring it on board to supplement and lab fish, that people come in with all sorts of ideas. There's a little hope. People tell me, you know, this is not my area, that the need for fish meal, say for salmon, has been dropping. But I think still you need more than 1 kilo to produce 1 kilo of salmon. So it's still not at the place you want it to be.
Cool. I have 2 more questions, one in the chat and one direct question by an anonymous person. Yeah, you raised your hand, new, so go ahead. Okay, you need to unmute yourself if you want to ask the question.
Yeah.
If not, yeah, now.
Yeah, now it seems it's unmuted.
Yeah, I'm Seleman Ramadhani from Tanzania.
Tanzania, good.
Yeah, I'm working as a fisheries officer.
Mm-hmm.
My question to Dr. Rashid is actually based on your presentation. Actually, thank you for having a very nice presentation. Actually, I enjoyed it because you have been talking a lot, which are actually very significant to fisheries. Now, let me go straight to my question. My question, yeah. Why didn't you outline issues pertaining to aquaculture when you are talking about infinity fish? Because, you know, I think you know the importance of aquaculture the importance of aquaculture in its contribution to providing food, particularly protein. Yeah. I expected that maybe in your discussion, the time you have been presenting, that you could just present issues pertaining to aquaculture as something which can support infinity fish. Because if you look at the ocean lakes, it's like we are exacting more pleasure on the ocean, particularly on harvesting the wild stock. So to maintain or to achieve what you have been saying, that how do we do in order to achieve infinity fish? I think you could address a lot about aquaculture. That's my question.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right about, I mean, there's a role for aquaculture, and clearly, I mean, the thing is, wild fish is actually, I'm thinking of wild fish as the infinity fish, you know, and you can farm aquaculture, especially if it doesn't need to consume wild fish to make it work, right? And I think in Africa, you know, Nigeria is big, Egypt is big in aquaculture, at least relatively, but not like China, right? And so, and a lot of the Nigerian one is what? Tilapia and carp. In China, catfish. If you do those, I think you can contribute. The thing is, people want to farm tuna. People want to farm salmon, you know. My good friend, Abraham Iambo, the minister of Namibia, when I used to go, he was so good. When I land in Namibia, you make an appointment, we meet in his office at 7 o'clock in the morning before he starts work. Tell me what is the science, what's the economy. So he is a scientist himself, he was. Unfortunately, we lost him. But at some point I go there and he's all talking about agriculture and he's thinking of things like salmon and to plant them in the desert Namibia, in small rivers that people depend on. If you do that, I mean, I tell you, you're going to end up really losing a lot. The water bodies will go, and salmon is not going to do well in Namibia. You can try. So that's the kind of thing I think we really need to avoid. So we need clever agriculture, innovative thinking agriculture. And some Asian countries have succeeded in this. They do circular agriculture. They do them together with pigs and other animals. So this, your waste of one is the feed for another. So nothing is easy. Nothing is a gift. Nothing, everything you have to think hard to do it. And agriculture has to be taught carefully. And that's my message, you know. Do you know that at the moment, 60% of all the agriculture production in the world is just one country? 60%. That is China. And this is not because we've not been trying in Africa. So one question I have is, why hasn't agriculture taken off? And we need to find out in Africa for it to work. You got to find out why, right? And then we'll do what we need to do in the local condition to make it work. But China alone is 60%, which means we will all have to end up buying fish from China, you know, if we let our wild fish go. Meanwhile, we don't have money to buy stuff, medicine, send our kids to school, and you want to ship all the little money to China. No, let's manage our ocean fisheries and freshwater systems as best as possible. Then we bring in agriculture to supplement and support in a clever way, and we will have a very nice fish, infinity fish to feed us for forever.
Excellent. There's a really interesting question also from, I've just heard that we have a little more time if you still have energy left.
Oh yeah, this is what I enjoy doing.
Excellent. So
Yeah,
I don't have to refer you to the chat. There's a nice question that I had in mind as well in a similar sense for Meenakshi. With the increasing recognition of the economic potential you mentioned in the beginning of fisheries in Africa, and on the other hand, the involvement of external distant water fleets, for example, how do we ensure that, because it's not only about Africans managing their own coasts, if there's other people coming through with big fleets and taking away the fish. So how do we ensure an ethical and just future for fisheries in Africa, especially for the local communities?
Yeah, this is a really good question. Yeah, I love it because I spend a lot of time thinking and working on this. One of my recent papers is actually looking at illicit trade in fish catch from the whole world, and I did one specifically for West Africa. And in the global one, there's and Africa loses a lot of values and food through illegal IUU fishing, mainly by big foreign fishing boats. So you are right on. And this is where the global processes are important, right? So Africa has to be present with knowledge and evidence, and this kind of effort is important when you go into these negotiations. At the moment, subsidies, we actually have a paper now which is being looked at by Nature. They sent it to review, and for many of us, that's already an achievement, right? They usually will throw more than half or even bigger out at the door. And in that piece, what we did was we looked at the subsidies given by countries in the world, the harmful subsidies that lead to overcapacity, and we track where the monies end up, in whose waters does it end up. So I love this work so much. For example, we find out that in Africa, the foreign subsidies that come and overfish follow the fish, whether from Europe or Asia in particular, is now becoming more. You have Thailand, Korea, China. The subsidies that harm African waters are more than double of the local African subsidies. In Latin America, I think we found about 5 times. So a lot of our work is actually tracking and trying to expose and show to the world, you know, what big, rich countries are doing, right, to the waters of the developing world, countries of the South. So this is an area I put a lot of energy with. In fact, we currently have a project with the USAID where we are looking at distant water fishing fleet in the missions of the USAID, because countries, I think there's East Africa, West Africa, there's the Caribbean, there's Asia, we're looking at the Philippines, trying to actually calculate how much of local fish that is being grabbed by distant water fish using subsidies, you know, and depriving these countries. So you touch on something important. As a scientist, my main goal, my main contribution is to expose this, to do the research and bring it out to the world, and sometimes shame countries to try to do the right thing. All right.
Thanks. Thanks for sharing. I think we're going to have time for one more question. Ken, did you have your hands raised?
Ken, yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Rashid, for a really interesting and really great talk. I hope people can hear me. Yeah. Rashid, you made a reference to the estimation of absolute ocean values and the difficulty of doing these in terms of invaluable services, things that we really can't put any value on given differences in values and value systems, etc. I'm just wondering in terms whether you would like to comment on relative values. Estimated in a consistent manner can provide us with benchmark indicators that we feel are really useful for decision-making processes. The absolute value question, I think we're heading towards Michael Tolman's estimations of infinity, but there must be within these processes the measurement of relative values measured consistently that are really, I don't want to use the word valuable, talk about values, but I'm just wondering if you would care to comment on the importance of those relative values rather than trying to get an absolute estimation of ocean values. Thank you.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think you are hitting on an important point, right? Because to be able to choose from one thing, A or B, you need to have the relative values, right? And they have to be consistent, as you say, and hopefully they have to be comprehensive and total, so that you don't leave some important things out. So relative values are important for when we do cost benefit analysis, right? That's what we're trying to do, right? You have $1, you got to spend it on this, on that. How do you decide that? So relative values come into play. So the way I see some of the stuff I'm doing in Infinity Fish, you know, is actually a more, you know, strategic versus tactical stuff. So here I'm talking at the level of conceptualization. You talk about Infinity Fish. And if you have that framing, that will then guide you as you do these relative values and tactical stuff to help you make decisions, you know, at specific places and where relative values are important. So in a nutshell, I'm trying to say you can do these things at different levels, right? I mean, each one of us, like for me, there are things that guide me, principles that guide me overall, but each day I have to make decisions, right? And so that is where the difference is coming. But you are right. I have colleagues that are looking at relational values also, right? So this is a very dynamic area of research. What many of us and many policymakers tell us is that the current dominant valuation approaches in economics are not comprehensive enough. They miss out. And we see it in the politics and so on. So that's what these officials are trying to kind of fill the gap a bit. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And with those wise words, I think I would like to redirect everybody to the different sessions that are starting now: deep sea research, co-design, and ocean accounts and MSP. Feel free to click on the links if you're still energized, feel free to join the discussion in one of those. Otherwise, thank you again very much, and have a good rest now.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
thanks for
it's
joining.
a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you all, and we will see and talk again somewhere.
I would hope so. Yes.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Letitia. Thank you for making sure this happened. Okay.
Thank you very much, Rashid. It's fantastic. Yeah, fantastic having you on board.
Yeah.
Look forward to future engagements. Hope it goes well with the book. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.